Mthuli Zanu PF, Mthuli Patana, Mthuli Patana. Thank you very much. I want to welcome you all and also to recognize the presence of the Director in the Department of Information and Publicity, Comrade Mugwadi, as well as Comrade Kuda Brown, who is the Director in my office. If you recall, I did indicate to you that 2022 was a very busy year for the party because in terms of the Constitution, it's an elective year where we go through the various stages of electing office bearers into the various structures, starting in the beginning of the year when we went for the provincial structures. And after that, we also had the primary elections in preparation of the by-elections that were in April this year. And soon after that, we had to prepare for the youth conference, which had to be preceded by establishing structures right through the districts, provinces, up to the national executive. The same process was also taken as we prepared for the women's conference and also going through to the districts and provinces. And after that, we also had the inaugural conference for the war veterans, which is the first one of its kind. And also we had to establish structures for the war veterans from the party districts to the provinces and up to establishing the national executive. And obviously, right through these various conferences, they were also making their resolutions. And I think the most common resolutions among the three is really more of the President, His Excellency, Comrade Mnangagwa, is the sole candidate for the 2023 harmonized elections. Now, as we get to the tail end of our elective year, we now have to put in place a new central committee, which is the highest decision-making organ of the party, which is the organ that meets in between the conferences. And this has to happen prior to the holding of the Congress, which has been slated for the end of October. The process started by inviting applications from those members of the party who wanted to be considered and who were members of high standing, having had at least 15 years unbroken membership in the structures of the party, and also having had at least 5 years operating at a provincial level. These names were subjected to security vetting, and there was also the provinces meeting with their provincial coordinating committees, converting themselves to provincial elections directorate, going through the CVs and making comments and also making recommendations. And then the next stage was really the convening of the National Elections Directorate, which is really a number of Politburo members who sit in that committee, and every province is represented by a most senior member of that province. And again, this National Elections Directorate is chaired by the National Political Commissar. The process was again to supervise the work that had been done by the Provincial Elections Directorate. And of course, there were areas which needed to be referred to the Presidium, and also which needed the endorsement of the Politburo. As you are aware, the Politburo met yesterday and went through the list of what had been recommended as successful candidates and those who had been recommended as unsuccessful candidates, and they were endorsed by the Politburo. There were few changes made in terms of people who have been disqualified, very significant number. There's quite a number of additions that were made in terms of areas that the previous stages had really reserved for the guidance from above. And I'll go to the list later on those changes that have been made, but more so on just making some of the names of those people who previously had not been confirmed, but who now have been confirmed, and they can stand for elections tomorrow. The date hasn't changed. The elections will be tomorrow, the 8th of October, and elections are starting at 10 o'clock in the morning and finishing at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. All provinces will be going for elections tomorrow, with the exception of Masvingo, who will be having their elections on Sunday. The reason being that on the same day, Saturday, tomorrow, His Excellency the President will actually be addressing a thank you rally for Masvingo province. In particular, she reads the district on the same day. So we've given them the leeway to have their elections on Sunday. There has been a question as to who votes, and I wanted just to clarify that it's not everybody who goes to vote. It's not every card-carrying member who goes to vote. It's the chairpersons of all the wings, including the main board, at the party district level. So the chairman of the district, of the party district, the chairman of the Women's League, the Youth League, the War Veterans, the four of them are eligible to vote. Apart from that, all the DCC executive members in that particular district also will be voting. So will be the NCA and provincial members who come from that district also constitute the Electoral College. Even these outgoing Central Committee members, they are still in office. They will also be eligible to vote. The people that I've mentioned, the office bearers, will actually constitute the Electoral College. But the entire admin district will be voting. And I think one of you guys has been asking to say, are elections conducted on a constituency basis? The answer is no. It's the entire district, because the people who are voted represent the entire district. They don't represent a constituency. They might be coming from the various constituencies, but the people who are being voted are in there representing the entire district. So the admin districts, in terms of the people I've mentioned, will actually be voting. But it's a bit different when we come to the women's quota, because the women's quota is really a women's affair. And as you know, the women's quota is really it's not really more for contesting. It's an additional number that the party is allowed to have more women to participate in the politics of the party, and therefore the 5 women in each province have been distributed in terms of the admin districts in those areas. And where you have 2 members wanting to be considered for a woman's quota, preference under normal circumstances is given to seniority. And that is really what will obtain in all the provinces. I just want to appeal once again to our members to really exercise their right to vote very freely, and that we won't have any cases of violence. And I'm sure with the record that we had in the past elections, I'm sure this will be a very successful elections, so that those who won, we will celebrate, and those who don't make it, the party is still vibrant, the positions will come again, and there is always room to participate in the party and in various structures of the party and in a number of assignments. So having said that, we are also going today to be deploying those who are going to supervise these elections. They are going to the various provinces. The team leaders who come from different provinces will also gather to brief with those team members who are going to give them the support. And we have 2 members for each admin district who will be supervising the elections tomorrow. So they will have their meetings today, brief and get their the requirements, the paperwork, etc., and they will be deployed so that tomorrow come 10 o'clock, they start work. Now, as I said, there have been some few changes made, and few disqualifications, but I will focus more on those who have now been approved to join the list that we had given to provinces a day ago. I won't read all names, but I'll just pick and choose some of the provinces and some of the names. In Midlands, we now have, in addition, Comrade Florabuka, Comrade Simbisi, and Comrades Makomo, Mutukwa, and Mabiza, who are in addition to the list that had been given prior. In Mashonaland East, in terms of additions, we now have Comrade Terence Mkupe, as well as Comrade Bright Matonga. In Manicaland, we had a number of aspiring candidates who didn't meet the criteria in terms of the 15 years unbroken service and in terms of 5 years in the province. And these were mainly official people who have moved from Zanu Ndonga to rejoin Zanu PF, and therefore the provinces were not so sure as to welcome them now or to get guidance from above, and the decision was made yesterday. So we have these former Zanu Ndonga members who are now going to stand in for elections in Chipinge mainly, and some of them are the following: Verison Mutea, Comrade Muzane Namo, Comrade Sibia Charity, Comrade Machingura, and Comrade Chido Mudiwa, and obviously we have who used to be the president of Zanu Ndonga, now standing in as a central committee member for Zanu PF, and we wish them well and welcome them with open arms. In Mashingo, we also had 2 members who have been added on, Comrade Jabulan Mbetu and also Comrade Muchareva Chamisa. In Mat North, we have Comrade Mguni Shasha, and in Mat South, we have 2 who have been added, Comrade Nyararai Sibanda and Comrade Sindiso Njovu. And as I said, I wasn't mentioning all of them, but just mention a few who have been added on to our list. And so that completes the exercise in terms of preparation. It's all systems go tomorrow, and hopefully we're looking forward to having a new central committee by the time we go to our Congress. Thank you so much.
Right. You've just said the National Political Commissar. You heard it first, as is. I was going to say Yangwe questions, but Comrade Mkwadi, who will take over the questions section. Who will take over the questions section? Was on Dr. one or two. Where in town?
No, you can proceed.
All right. Right. It's now time for questions. May you please restrict the questions Pune Ratauro, the Central Committee, for those that have got questions. As can a personal I think this is very clear. Is there anyone an influence?
Not a question, but I don't know whether.
Yes, Comrade Blessed Ruslan.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to find out what were the reasons that led to the other comrades who have now been admitted to be admitted. And you said there are those who have been admitted but have not been disqualified. If you may kindly share some of those who have not been disqualified.
Let me probably start with those who might have been added. You might find that we had a number of ministers, current ministers, former ministers, who had applied but who didn't meet the requirements in terms of the 15 years, 5 years, but who now had to sort waivers. Professor Mthuli is an example. He is now been afforded the waiver. He will be standing for elections in the Bulawayo province. You had Comrade Sekai Nzenza, who has also been allowed to stand in Mashonaland East. You had also the former Minister of Health, Comrade Obadiah Moyo, who is also going to stand in Harare. So you had a number of even civil servants who don't qualify in terms of criteria, but who have been allowed to stand in. And I think we have Comrade Jefta Sakupkanya in Manicaland. So you had a number of those who have been allowed because you needed the authority from senior leadership on that. And you also now have, so these are mainly those who have been added on, where in some cases the provinces were not so sure as to how to make an assessment of them. But you also have those who have been disqualified because there is probably additional information to the point that probably they are not in good standing in terms of their activities. Some who probably might be not really moving with us, and who might actually be probably Zanu PF during daytime and opposition during the night. So you have cases like that where you need experts to assist us in really making a better assessment. I've also made indication of our, particularly our comrades in Chipinge, who have now joined, people like Comrade Kumbula Wilson, as I said, who was the president of Zanu Ndonga before, who is now been accepted back and to stand in for elections. We have these were mainly the reasons behind the additions, and but the issue is that there was quite a lot of interest among our membership of people who want to be considered for the positions of Central Committee, and in the main, the majority were cleared. As I said, just a few who didn't make it, but for very objective reasons. And there hasn't been any appeal that has been delivered to me on those people who haven't qualified. Thank you very much for the question.
Another question?
My second part of the question is that if you could help us with the names of those who have been disqualified, since you have shared those who have been added.
I want to disqualify you.
Right. Another question? Yes?
I'd like to find out the position that is there on women's quota in terms of seniority.
Okay.
In case there are more wanting the...
Okay. Let me just I was joking. The reason why I can't give you is some of them probably haven't received the information as yet. So you don't want them to hear over the news that they've been disqualified. Then we need to communicate properly. And once that is done, and even once that's done, they are probably the first ones to tell you that I've been disqualified and tell you why they've been disqualified. But for now, because some of the information hasn't reached them, I think it's important that we don't mention those in their names. The women's quota, as I said, the women's quota, it's really a women's affair. They've been making their own nominations, and they've been playing their own games. It's really their own affair. As you are aware, these positions in terms of Central Committee are distributed in a certain formula. There are certain positions which are distributed equitably, like 10 positions for each province. But you also have positions that are distributed on the strength of the province performance in the last presidential election. So you say, so it will vary. Those who performed well have got more members, and those who didn't perform well have fewer members. But you then have a given quota, 50 in the case of women. So each province then gets 5 each. And then, of course, you have the 2 who are in the women's executive, 2 who are in the youth executive, and 2 who are also in the war veterans executive. That then becomes the total allocation of a province. Now, the women are free to go and contest in the main board, like anybody else, as long as they make the grade. But over and above that, there is this quota which has been reserved for them. And in most cases, they've got 1 or 2 positions. And as long as they have agreed on those who stand in those positions, there is no need for any election. But in the event of having two women standing for a single position, the preference is given to the seniority. They can also discuss among themselves and come up. It's not to say it's a must, but the issue is we encourage that preference be given to the most senior of whoever, 3 or 2. But it's really a women's affair. They might do in a way that suits them, as long as they accept it, as long as it is within their own grouping in terms of consensus. We won't really much want to interfere with their decisions.
Right. Any other question? If there is no other question, this is the beauty of democracy in Zanu PF. You can be given waivers, even some of you journalists. Ana Brusa, tokuzopel my wife next time if you want to contest. So I will now hand over Kuna Director Mkwada. I think you have an announcement.
Yeah, just a short one. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
PC, for the elaborate announcement. I'm sorry to be taking just those seconds. I'm sure your
It's
work
okay.
is cut out already in Chirezi. It needs to be in Chirezi in the next few hours for the bigger event tomorrow. But just to abuse your occasion, Comrade
Yes?
PC, the spokesperson of the party will be here at 2 p.m. to give you a side of what the PC has given you on the deliberations of the Politburo, which is set in a simultaneous, continuous double session from Wednesday to Thursday evening as the 365th ordinary session. So we meet again at 2 p.m. And also just to advise to you that the spokesperson has the pleasure to thank you very much for the manner in which you behaved in a discipline and just for coming to bless the occasion. I'm sure I'm fully informed even the powers that be, in fact the guest of honor there was also very happy to see you among those that were with him. So that's all I just wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Please safe journey and be safe along the way.
Thank
See
you.
after the elections.
Thank you so much.
All right.
By the way, I'm also
Oh, yeah, but
standing
yeah, he's
in.
also
And,
being contested.
unfortunately, I can't be there to campaign. I'm here, so I'm sure the press can campaign on my behalf.
Please do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.